Welcome to the fourth and final entry of our month dedicated to discussing vehicles that belong in the best Toyota of all time conversation. So we're discussing one more model. It would be wrong of us not to include the Toyota-made Hypercar in the conversation of the best Toyota of all time. Because on this episode of Toyota History Tuesday, we're talking about the Toyota GR010 Hybrid Hypercar. Maybe similar to the Land Cruiser episode, the GR010's predecessors probably also deserve to be in the conversation as well. This is an incredibly modern vehicle packed with modern performance features, but before we get there, let's go back to its prehistory back in 1995. 1995 saw Toyota focusing on heavily modifying production cars for application in motorsports competition. The first was the Supra LM, and then after it would be the SARD MC8R, which was a heavily modified MR2. But other manufacturers were changing their tactics to create motorsport-specific racing models, rather than heavily modified production cars. And this would come with great many advantages. Never to be surpassed, Toyota sought to tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they can't take our freedom. Toyota developed and raced the GT1, a completely racing-specific model, which earned 2 class wins, 3 fastest laps, and 2 pole positions. This was for the application in the 24 Hours of Le Mans series, but would only race in 2 series. Toyota decided to discontinue the GT1 program and would not have a vehicle to compete in the prototype class for the 24 Hours of Le Mans series ever again. Until 2012, when Toyota decided again to enter the Thunderdome. With design starting back in 2010, a vehicle called the TS030 Hybrid was presented to the press in 2012. This vehicle featured the first hybrid powertrain for use in the World Endurance Championship ever. It made its debut at the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 2012, competing in the prototype class in 2012 and 2013. Over those 2 seasons, the TS030 hybrids would compete 14 times, winning 5 of them, registering the fastest lap in 4 of them, and getting pole position 6 times. All that being said, despite Toyota trying to swing away, Merrill, swing away, they would get second place in the Manufacturers' Championship both years, unfortunately, just falling short. Unfortunately, in 2014, the rules for the prototype class would change and the TS030 would become obsolete. But a successor was ready, the TS040 hybrid, featuring a hybrid V8 and 4-wheel drive. This 513 horsepower vehicle would compete in both 2014 and 2015 in the World Endurance Championships. You know, it's an ugly business doing one's own duty, but just occasionally, it's a real pleasure. The TS040 would win the Manufacturers and Driving Championships first place in 2014, winning 5 first places overall. Toyota was finding their stride, stepping into that first place, making constant improvements and ready to kick butt and take names. But more improvements were to come. After taking 3rd place in the Manufacturers' Championship in 2015, Toyota knew that they had to be locked and loaded for that 2016 season. The way they readied up was the TS050 hybrid, one of the best Toyotas of all time, and deserves to be in the competition, and that's before we even get to the Hypercar. A twin-turboed V6 attached to a racing hybrid system resulted in 986 horsepower. We should just register you as a lethal weapon? This sucker would race in 34 races from 2016 to 2020, winning 19 of them, earning 46 podiums, 16 pole positions, and 15 fastest laps. These successful numbers would contribute to the TS050 hybrid and Toyota winning the World Endurance Championships in both the 2018 to 2019 season and the 2019 to 2020 season. This ramped up from them taking 3rd in 2016 and 2nd in 2017, so they led up to taking 1st 2019 and 2020. This vehicle was an immense success, a combination of continuing innovation and improvement throughout the years, advancement from previous adaptations, and high Toyota engineering. This vehicle certainly belongs in the conversation for the best Toyota of all time. But this is not the last vehicle in its genealogy, and Toyota would prove that here on the quiet page, I am the master. In 2018, a concept vehicle would debut called the Gazoo Racing Super Sport Concept. It had TS050 based aerodynamics and featured its engine, that 986 horsepower engine. See, in 2018, the FIA, or Fédération Internationale d'Automobile and the ACO, or Automobile Club de Ouest, would announce that the Le Mans Prototype 1 class was going to be altered and changed into the Hypercar class. And this would be for the 2021 season. Many thought that this prototype car was a turn in that direction, and it turns out that that's exactly what it would be intended for. So earlier this year, in 2021, the GR Supersport was unveiled, also called the GR010 Hybrid. This 3.5-liter V6 engined vehicle featured over 900 horsepower. And this vehicle has just flexed its competitive muscles at the April 4th 8 Hours of Portimao competition, and will be competing in the next few days at the May 1st Spa-Francorchamps competition. If it's anything like the legacy made before it, featuring constant improvement as models progressed, the GR010 Hybrid must be one of the most fantastic Toyotas ever made, and we will see it unveil to see if it belongs in that competition. It's certain to land itself not only in motorsports history, but in our conversation for Best Toyota. That brings us up to date on the GR010 Hybrid, the Toyota Hypercar. If you haven't already, check out our videos on the Land Cruiser, the Supra, and the Lexus LFA, and I'd love to hear what y'all think is the best Toyota of all time. I know that someone will say in the comments it'll be that supercharged Previa. There's always someone who says that. I love that person. I like the Previa, but maybe not for this purpose. So that concludes our month featuring 4 vehicles in the conversation for Best Toyota. Thank you for watching. My name is Mitchell. I'm here at Fred Haas Toyota Country, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot.